Hello and welcome to the Women in Technology virtual chapter presentation. I'm Kathy Kellenberger, and along with Re-Irish, we organize the Women in Technology virtual group for PASS. We are all about encouraging each other, empowering each other, hoping that we can encourage each other in our tech careers, and we very strongly feel that speaking is a way to help boost your career. So we really hope that you take advantage of this and present for us sometime if you would like to. You'll find that it really does help your career out, helps take you to the next level. SentryOne is our sponsor. They sponsor the Women in Tech Luncheon at PASS Summit and have for several years, which is really awesome. And they also provide money to help continue the virtual group program and also funds for us to give away gift cards. So we will be giving away a gift card to one of our attendees today. If you have not registered for PASS Summit, please use our discount code to get $150 off of the registration price. All of our videos are recorded and saved up to YouTube. You'll also find a list of the recordings and future meetings on our WIT Home Page. Be sure to check it out. We have our virtual chapter sends out a monthly newsletter. A lot of people really enjoy that, so be sure to join us. As I said earlier, we really like to help encourage women to speak. On our website, we list all the women speakers at SQL Saturdays, PASS, 24 hours of PASS, whatever we hear about, we would like to put it out there and promote. On this, I have some of the presentations just through the end of the month. I'm really thrilled that so many women are speaking at these events. Next month, our main presentation is by Jess Berlin. Busy is a four-letter word. I'm really looking forward to seeing this presentation to just see what her take is on that. I know that often I answer, about how busy I am. I truly believe I am, so I'm hoping I can learn something from Jess. Jess is a SQL Server Premier Field Engineer at Microsoft. She's been a member of the SQL community for a long time. And she's just a wonderful person, full of energy, very positive, and you can see that she spends her free time running. So she is really, really a great member of our community, and I look forward to seeing her presentation. We also have some other webinars coming up. We have SSIS Fundamentals and Beyond with Virginia Muskelblatt. June 6th, all about indexing with Gail Shaw, and I actually have a little mistake here on the slide. July 19th, designing a modern DW and data lake with Melissa Coates. Today's session is A Day in the Life of a PFE Consultant at Microsoft by Dana Rivkin and Mariah Baxavane-Connell. Have you ever really thought about working at Microsoft, especially in one of these two roles, these very customer-centric roles? We'll learn today just what that's like and how to actually apply to work at Microsoft if you're interested in those roles. Dana Rivkin is a Senior Premier Field Engineer in SQL Server and Analytics, and Mariah Baxavane-Connell is a Data Insights Consultant in Microsoft. I'm going to turn the session over to them. And I'm going to make Dana a presenter. And one note, if any of you have questions, go ahead and type them into the question window, and we will take care of them towards the end of the presentation. So Dana, are you ready to go? I see your screen.
Yes, I am. And actually, I'll get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Dana Rivkin, and I have been with Microsoft for 9 years. I started as a PFE and worked on many great projects within our public sector organization. Several years later, I joined our incubation team and began working with the analytics platform system we call APS, also known as PDW, which is our parallel data warehouse. I've been working with SQL Server and data for almost 20 years, and I'm excited to be able to tell you guys today about our different roles here in the services organization that we deliver to our customers. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Mariah and let her introduce and get started today.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dana. So just a little bit about myself. I've been at Microsoft for about 4.5 years, and I have been a SQL consultant the entire time I've been here. So have worked with just millions and millions and billions of lines of data, of course, as you can imagine. But love my job, really like getting into the nitty-gritty of customers' data, and I'm excited to talk about what exactly a consultant does, especially an IT consultant, just because I know that it's kind of a buzzword and nobody really knows about it. So our agenda, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to talk through a day in the life of a consultant, so I'll kind of outline what a consultant is, talk about the different types of projects and specialties, go through a week as a consultant, and then talk about a customer case study. And then Dana's going to go ahead and go through what her job is. So what does the day in the life of a PFE look like? And then we'll kind of talk about the differences and similarities between the two, because while they are very similar, they are also two obviously different roles at Microsoft. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. So like Kathy said, go ahead and put your questions in the chat window if you have any while we are talking, and we would be happy to answer them at the end. All right, so let's see. Here we go. So what is an IT consultant? So a lot of times when anyone asks what I do for a living, I say, oh, I'm an IT consultant. And a lot of the times you get puzzled looks. A lot of the times someone thinks they know what a consultant is or what a consultant does. But you could probably read 10 different job descriptions for a consultant and they would all be accurate. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information around what I know about consulting and what I've experienced over the past 4.5 years. So obviously a consultant is basically someone who comes in and provides expert advice and then jets off to another project. So there's many different types of consultants out there. There's management consultants, there's project managers that are consultants. Today we're just going to talk through what does a data SQL, data insights consultant at Microsoft, what does that look like? So obviously there's just tons of focus areas. Specifically here at Microsoft, I can't even count on two hands the different types of consultants we have. We have folks that are focused on SCCM. We have people that are focused on O365. We have modern app developers who focus on specific languages. So there's just tons of different consultants out there, but the idea is that as a consultant, you are an expert in that one specific topic. So whatever you are passionate about, whatever you are good at, in my case, SQL Server, then that's the route that you take as a consultant. So what do consultants do? How do they get projects? How does that all work? So consultants are staffed on different projects, and projects can range anywhere from 8 hours worth of work, so one full day, to years and years worth of work. Currently, I'm on an engagement where the other Microsoft consultant has been on this specific project for over 4 years. However, I have been on projects for a week. I know people that have been on projects for a day or two. So it really is, it's kind of a big black box of what type of project you're going to get on. You can, the demand is all over the place. So there's never one type of project. There's always multiple types, multiple lengths, durations, and especially locations as well. And then also there's different topics. So even as a SQL consultant myself, every single engagement that I've ever been on has been completely different. Still using SQL, of course, but different technologies. So using SSIS very heavily at the current customer, used a lot of SSRS at my past customer. So it really just differs depending on what type of engagement you're on, and really, you know, what has the customer asked you to come in and do or fix or help out with. So commercial versus public sector. So in Dana's introduction, she said that she worked here as a public sector PFE. And what that means is obviously it's for the government. So you work on government contracts, government projects. And then of course there's commercial projects. So what happens with Microsoft is a customer, so it could be anywhere from, the Department of Justice to Bank of America, a commercial entity. They come to Microsoft Consulting Services and, they need something done. So they need this data put into Power BI and they need these type of reports. Or the customer needs a data warehouse built, and so they come to Microsoft Consulting Services and an agreement is made, and then myself as a consultant would be dispatched to this customer for the duration of the project. And so commercial projects are usually more varied and usually shorter in length, but can potentially be longer. Public sector engagements are kind of known for being a lot longer in length. So again, I'm currently on a public sector project. Other consultant has been here for 4+ years. I've heard of people being on projects that love them for 10+ years. So it's definitely two different worlds, but luckily for me, I've been able to experience both. So I've been able to see the pros and cons of a commercial project versus a public sector project. And really, the cons just come down to personal preference. So, public sector projects are great for folks who love staying in the area, have a family and want to go home every night. Commercial projects can be dispersed. So you could be in Detroit one day, and then you could be in Orlando the next week, and then you could be in San Francisco for a month. So commercial projects more likely will have a lot of more travel involved. Public sector projects are a lot more local to where you are, especially if you're in the DC area. So that's kind of the general difference between those two. So next is the type of project. So remote versus local versus traveling. And Dana and I actually had a really good conversation around this yesterday. Every project is different, but every project will be either one of these. So either a project is remote, or it's local, or it's traveling. And the difference between these is really a remote project is you get to work from home and or you get to work from the office or a Starbucks or wherever you do your best work. So the team may be spread out across the country, the team may be spread out across the world, or alternatively, you could be the only person on that team and the customer just doesn't have a need for you to be on site, so you do all of your work remote. So that's one option. There's also a local project. So that is currently what I'm experiencing right now. And a local project is basically a normal, 9 to 5 in an office job. Not normally 9 to 5, but you go into an office, you drive in, you commute in with your, on the subway or on the metro, you sit at your desk, sit at your cube, wherever, and then at the end of the day, you would go home because you live so close to that customer. Traveling, on the other hand, is you would travel to the customer site depending on the statement of work, depending on the agreement. Normally, we call them 3, 4, 5. So normally you travel in on a Monday, you stay 3 nights, you work 4 days on site, so Thursday you would leave, and then Friday you would work from home or work from your local Microsoft office or Starbucks or, again, wherever you do your best work. So these are the 3 different types of projects. Sometimes they can be intermingled, so a lot of the times projects will be traveling and remote. So some of my coworkers are on projects where they have to be on site for 2 weeks, then they're off site for a week, then back on site for 2 weeks. But really what it does is it helps to foster team environment because all of you are coming from all over the place. It also gets you to be in front of the customer and to meet face-to-face with the customer. And I'll go through that in the next slide. And then so here's just a list of some companies that do provide IT consulting services. So obviously Microsoft Consulting, Deloitte, Accenture, and there's like tons of them out there. But consulting is, a lot of people don't know that Microsoft has consulting services, but we do. So, it's just every company, IT consultants do generally the same, but also can be very different things. So just a few other options for IT consulting. All right, so a week as a consultant. So I know the title of this is "A Day is in the Life," but wanted to walk you through a week just because a day is not enough to kind of explain what exactly goes on as a consultant. So I'll talk through one of my previous experiences at a customer. So I currently live in Washington, D.C., and I was staffed on a project in Chicago. So Monday mornings, I would get to the airport. I would, take my normal flight. It was a 7:05 flight from DCA to Chicago O'Hare. We would get in, and I think it was maybe 9 o'clock we would get in. And, after traveling for so long, you understand the airports. I'm not sure if anyone has ever seen the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney and Anna Kendrick, but I remember seeing that movie and being like, I want to do that for my life, where he just kind of flies all over the place and, is in an office for a few days and then jets off to somewhere else. And as a consultant, that's exactly what you're doing. So Monday morning I would leave DC. I had an Uber scheduled every morning to pick me up, knew which gate I had to go to. The TSA, honestly, I have made friends with TSA agents because of how often I've been at certain airports. So, the traveling for me never gets old. It's always nice to, see those folks and have friendly faces. I know for some people it's, not what they want to do, but it was fun to, kind of fly in on a Monday. You would land at 9, so right at the morning where you have to start taking calls. Can't tell you how many calls I've taken from a taxi because it's too many. But that's, it's the nature of consulting, so you're always on the go, but you also are always connected to your customer, and when they call, you need to be there to answer. So Monday mornings, normally fly in, get into the office as soon as you can, check into your hotel, and then the whole team kind of arrives sporadically. So depending on where people are flying in from, some folks fly in on Sunday nights if their flights are a little bit longer. Most fly in on Monday mornings, get to the office and kind of have a big team meeting and reconvene from, when you left each other the week before. And then Tuesdays, because you're on site, because you're in front of the customer, it's really important to hold those in-person meetings with the customer stakeholders. So I know on that project that I was talking about in Chicago, we had a standing Tuesday meeting with as many customer folks that we could round up. So some weeks we would have, 5 or 6 team members from Microsoft and 5 or 6 team members from the customer. Other weeks it would be smaller. Other weeks when the customer was having some sort of training, there would be tons of people there. So really important, really great to have that in-person time with the customer to talk about how's the project going, what do we need from them, what do they need from us. And then Wednesday, of course, you go back on site, you're in that city, you're there to work with the customer, you're there to, really focus on what can you get done while you're on site that week. So just, would go through a normal day on Wednesday, getting work done, having in-person meetings, stopping by someone's desk if you needed to talk to them, which obviously is so much easier than pinging them if you're ever remote. So it's always nice to be on site and have that opportunity. And then another one is when you're on site at a customer, you get to have the opportunities to do networking things. So instead of just having a relationship where you pick up the phone and, dial into conference calls and, meet everyone that way, you're able to have a networking dinner, to invite the project manager out to dinner with the Microsoft team. So it's really important to have that time on site, to meet in person with all these folks and really to put faces to names. That's the most important part of being a consultant, because it is all about, does the customer trust you, and do you have that experience and that knowledge that they are looking for. So being able to kind of work with the customer on a more personal level, find out about their lives, their families. It's super great to be on site and be able to do that as well. And Thursdays, we consultants like to call those Consultants Friday, just because it is the day where you get to travel back home and get to sleep in your own bed finally. So what Thursdays usually look like is, you get into the office as early as possible, because normally you take a flight around 3, 4, 5, depending. And of course, there's always traffic getting to the airport. So you want to get as many hours in on site with the customer again as you possibly can. And, just as an example, on certain projects, you have team members literally all over the globe. So I can't tell you how many times I've taken calls at 4 a.m., at midnight. Really, it's just a wide range because of who you are working with and who isn't able to be there on site. So Thursdays are, you'll see many happy consultants walking through airports on Thursdays, getting ready to get home to either their families or their apartments or, their dog or cat. So that's what we like to call Consultants Fridays. And then on actual Friday, as a consultant, you either get to work from home or you get to work from a local office. It's the day where you can kind of catch up. So anything that you needed to do but couldn't do because you were on site that whole week, you get Friday to, catch up on. Still, obviously, you need to focus on your customer and they're the number one priority, but you get to, meet with your manager or meet with your mentor. So you have more flexibility on Fridays to get everything done that you really just couldn't get done because you were away Monday through Thursday. So that's kind of what a quote-unquote 3, 4, 5 normal week for a consultant looks like. And just to kind of quickly go through just a real-world customer story. So this is an experience that I had on my first customer with Microsoft, so 4 years ago. So this customer, it's a large insurance firm. They were migrating globally all of their machines from Windows XP to Windows 7. And so the team that was brought on from Microsoft was at least 30 consultants. So most projects you'll find are on, the smaller staffing side. So a lot of the times projects are 1, 2, 3, 4 consultants, maybe 5 or 6. So this project was massive, to say the least. And so again, this customer was also Chicago-based, so I've traveled to Chicago for work for many, many years. I should just move there. But so this Chicago-based project brought in folks from all over the place. And then not only did we have about 30 Microsoft consultants on site in Chicago every week, those were just the North America consultants. So we had sub-teams, MCS, Microsoft Consulting Services sub-teams in EMEA, so we had a team in London, and then we also had one in Asia Pac. So we had a project manager in Singapore, and then she worked really closely with other folks around the APAC region. So this project was a big one, to say the least, but it's the one that I did the most learning on, so I wanted to kind of share that with you guys and kind of talk through that. So to bring this back around to data, what exactly was I doing there? Why was I on this, Windows deployment project? Well, of course, as you can imagine, when you migrate thousands of machines, tens of thousands of machines, there is so much data behind all of that. So I was on the database work stream, so we had data flowing in daily, hourly, minutely from SCCM. We had it flowing in from AD. We had it flowing in from each computer. So what computer, what model computer do you have? What type of apps do you have on that computer? Are these apps going to be compatible when we upgrade you to Windows 7? So just the amount of data behind that was, it was a lot. It was a lot to work with and look through, and just the reporting. So how long did this machine take to migrate? Why did this machine take 2 hours and this machine took 5 hours? Can we make that 5-hour migration shorter the next time we try it? So lots of really cool data to look through, tons and tons of graphs and charts and reports, but it was all super interesting to do, and it was also really great to work with our sub-teams in EMEA and in Asia Pac, because they had different issues than we would have. So they needed different language packs, and they, their folks had to turn in their computers at different times. And, obviously some of them were sleeping when we were awake, and some of us were working while they were sleeping. So it was a really great experience to kind of work on that global scale and work with all those folks. And in the end, so the project took about 18 months. So this is, again, a commercial project and definitely longer than the normal commercial project would be. But in the end, we successfully migrated 30,000 machines, and we also migrated over 50,000 AD accounts. And around that, at the end, I just remember the reports all looking so beautiful, and the pie charts were all filled in with green instead of being red and yellow, and so the data behind this was great, and just having this experience with tons of different consultants was fantastic. And then so after the MCS team left, what then happens is the PFE teams come in. So Dana, if you want to go ahead and talk about PFEs.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks, Mariah. That was a really, really great look at the consultant role. And, as far as the the role of the Premier Field Engineer is it's actually very similar, but we like to say that the consultants, they go in and they deliver the project and they help build, they bring the first insights and capabilities. They help to architect and meet these customer needs within these enterprise software environments. And then internally, us as the Premier Field Engineer, we call the PFE. We like to joke that the consultants go build and deploy it, and then the PFEs, we come in and fix what they broke or what they do. So it's usually, what we like to say internally that is the running joke. But in all reality, we're a team, like a family. We meet different areas of the company and different partners that we work with. So we're very diverse in our work together. So often there may already be a PFE working with an account, or it could be a new project where we come in afterwards to help maintain and optimize. In my role as a DSE, which is a designated support engineer, I'll explain a little bit more about those differences in a moment, but my goal is to be proactive, and it's to limit downtime and that performance impact to customers. It's catching problems before they start, helping find solutions to operational policies or procedures. I help provide best practices. I do code reviews, just like Mariah. I help innovate with new ideas to help functionality and processes. Our consultants come in and they help build this solution, and they really help lay the groundwork. But typically environments, they don't just stay as they are once they're built, of course. They're enhanced and they're developed further, to meet demands of the business growth and changes. And as a trusted advisor with, this deep technical experience that we have as Premier Field Engineers, we get to help, with the deep and wide networking capabilities. We have a better understanding of their environment, and we get more time to interact longer term in that designated type of role. Typically I'm prepared to help guide a customer through any difficult challenge that they come across because of my experience and expertise with doing things like escalations or problem solving. So what is a PFE exactly? Well, just like Mariah talked about with the consultants, there's a huge range of product specialties, different kinds of projects and requests that comes in from different customers, and they range in commercial and public sector where I originally started. They can be long-term, they can be short-term, and they can often be similar in nature for commercial versus public sector, as Mariah explained. So it's very diverse and dispersed as well. This role comes with a great amount of educational benefits. I'm sure just like Mariah does, we're constantly growing and learning all the time. Getting our certifications, or just going to different product launches and conferences to network and meet with people. It's a deep learning experience. We have opportunities to become deep technical experts in areas, what we call SMEs, subject matter experts. And, we do a lot of training for customers to provide education on a range of topics, in SQL Server. As you know, if you're here for data and you work with SQL or any other, there's a range of possibilities from business intelligence to, the nitty-gritty performance tuning and things like that. So we do training for customers to provide education on, all these different topics, and we do health checks as well as risk assessments and even operational assessments. So we also work internally with our other groups and help develop tools in education, what we call IP or intellectual property within that we all share, and we build these insights and information that we learn together to bring this one Microsoft environment together that we all work as one big family. So let's talk a little bit about the differences between the two roles. We've got dedicated versus transactional, which we call PFE for transactional typically. It's the name of the role in general, but if you get dedicated to a customer, then you're called a dedicated or designated engineer, the DSE. Let's see, some of the differences. Well, as far as the schedule, so Mariah gave a really great overview of how that consultant schedule works and what that day looks like. And the PFE schedule can really be a range of possibilities, anywhere from really similar to Mariah, where you're flying in on Monday, you're working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on site, you're flying home and working from home from Friday. I've actually had the same schedule as her for it was my first year with the company, or even into the second and third year. So it just depends on the customer and who you're working with and what the opportunity is that you're working on. It can also, although our roles may share many of these characteristics and responsibilities, my schedule is not necessarily as routine all the time either. But instead, it also has areas for more flexibility. It's not that we even have less to do, but we have a more flexible or even sometimes less flexible schedule, because we may work with the customer schedule more, which means we're doing evening maintenance or weekends, helping with, that maintenance schedule or outages. But we have more control over our daily life as well, so that we may not be needed on site full time, and it allows a lot more flexibility, to try and manage what we have control of and control those schedules by, forecasting out that you're going to do workshops for a customer this week, and you're going to do a risk assessment the following week, and plan to be on site to another customer this week, and you can just kind of plan ahead and manage your time in that way instead of having a set schedule. So you can jump around, or you can kind of be dedicated. In the transactional, it can be a little bit more intense because you might have exposure to mission critical customers. Of course, a lot more opportunity for travel. And if a critical issue comes up, then you may be on site and need end up coming out being that rock star that helps save the day. And there's always that remote on-site or travel type of engagements, and typically transactionals are short-term, dedicated, are typically longer-term. But again, as far as the public sector and commercial differences, they can be the same, where your public sector engagements are usually longer-term, and the commercial ones are typically shorter-term, but not in all cases. Let me So the other part I wanted to talk about with my role is that this part of growth and impact. And every day, is an opportunity for something new. It's whether it's creating impact for others or myself. I believe that this role has a range of possibilities. In the transactional role, there's a lot more opportunity for that travel and networking, and to be that star, that saves the day. Whether it's an engagement to work on a critical issue or those short-term engagements, there's just a broad range of industry-related knowledge and skill to build there. But we create impact not only with our customers, but with even deeper impact that comes to society as a whole. So, I wanted to share a story of mine that as a DSC, I've had that opportunity to grow deeper industry experience, more than I've ever had before, as well as grow a broader range of insight into working in the public sector versus commercial, like Mariah explained. One of my favorite stories of impact is when I worked for one of our first and largest data warehouse projects in healthcare serving our veterans. And it was a national project and effort to consolidate all of the VA health records. It was a 5+ year planned project when I had come on board, and I was able to interact and work with our product group in doing technology adoption programs, executive briefings, and I helped coordinate this multi-regional project across all of the technical hubs throughout the U.S. and working and networking in this team with our consultants, with our sales team, with other premier field engineers on the different product groups that were being supported throughout this environment. And it was, the experience and growth opportunity was really enormous. I think what was even better was the impact that I was able to learn and find out that I was helping create through all of this and what my work provided. And, I was helping veterans and others learn things about healthcare methods or techniques which were hurting or helping them. And, for instance, there's this one report I remember these bits of about blood pressure, which actually affects everybody. But being able to get these insights out of the Veterans Affairs is a unique opportunity with the health, insights that they have. So this group of researchers, they collected blood pressure data from patients, and there were patients that I think could go back all the way to World War I. These records were collected from different states throughout the country, and then even weather patterns were also added to the data set to have the record of weather or altitude information for each patient visit. And then their blood pressure information was taken, and they were able to find some quite alarming and extremely insightful information out of it. To learn that weather and time of year, atmospheric pressure and humidity and other different types of weather patterns can actually change your blood pressure to go up or down. And it could be completely normal in the case of you going in, like us, we go in sometimes, typically people will go in and have a doctor visit maybe done once a year, and they're regular with it. They can maybe go in January. And then, all of a sudden you're found to have high blood pressure. But if you're put on medication for high blood pressure and had you come back a few months later, maybe over the summer months, your blood pressure may be in the normal range. So it's possible medication wasn't needed, or it needed a dosage change, or maybe some other medication. Or maybe, like I said, none at all. So this, insight helped improve the life for so many people, for doctors to have this information about blood pressure and be able to take patients off of blood pressure medications that didn't need it. So, this was the base of the experience that I had joining Microsoft, which, I carry on into my career, and it helps drive my passion and my interest, and I'm able to, continuously innovate and create more opportunity in the space that I have a lot of passion for, which is healthcare. I've also done a lot of work in the finance sector as well, and I continue to get more experience there. And it's really exciting to work with these customers and be able to, create and innovate and help them, be their best. So that's the best part of this job for me. So finally, Mariah and I wanted to go through and talk a little bit about, all these similarities and between the two roles, because, well, that's probably obviously what you've heard throughout most of this, is that they're very similar in nature. But, there are a few little differences between the two, and that's what we wanted to try and highlight here. In my case as a PFE, I work closely with customers during escalation, and I, help create a plan for resolution and bring in resources as needed. Anywhere from the product group, sales team, architects, technical account managers, account executives, managers, even partners of Microsoft, whatever the situation calls for. You know, I'm that person that's there that the customer is counting on to get the issue resolved. And as I mentioned earlier, as a dedicated PFE, my initiative is proactive. So if I maintain the environment properly and I provide the education and to the teams, and I do those workshops and chalk talks and other means that I brought up before, you know, then I'm less likely to have an escalation to deal with because I'm less likely to have a problem or incident occur in their environment. You know, and finally, with my role as a dedicated engineer, I have an opportunity to really get to know the customer and their environment, which is the critical part of these escalations. You know, if over a long term or even a short term, there's the opportunity to provide architecture, design input. You know, there's possible infrastructure, app growth that's needed. Those are the types of offerings and the guidance on my own that I can do, you know, or I can engage with architects or the product group as a team to help deliver proposed plans or ideas. You know, whatever I need and I think at the time is needed for the customer, I have access and the range of possibilities to do that for customers. You know, personally, I love the experience of having a team working together on a project, you know, taking the customer to the MTC, that's our Microsoft Technology Center, you know, and helping them get an architectural design session or proof of concept. You know, that's really what this is all about, is that we all work as a team to deliver the best experience and outcome possible, you know, to enable the customer's business. And I do some of these different things with the optimization and maintenance and, you know, help with bringing in future design, but that includes bringing, you know, Mariah or that consultant back in later when we discover, hey, if you built out this project and did this, then you're going to do even more great work, and this is what the result will be. And, you know, we can do those proof of concepts to build it out and then bring in consulting again to do further work later. So I see the DSC and that PFE a lot as the bridge to hold it all together, or that glue as well. So, Mariah, would you like to talk more about your differences that you see as a consultant and what you do?
Sure. Yep. So as you can see on the consultant part of this Venn diagram, it says statement of work. So a lot of the times, kind of like I explained before, companies will hire Microsoft Consulting Services to do a specific task, and then MCS can kind of staff it as necessary. So statement of works normally have you know, fixed timelines. So we need these 30,000 machines to be upgraded from Windows XP to Windows 7 in 10 months, and you know, you need to bring on as many people necessary to do that. So that would be a fully consultant staffed project. So it would just be straight up consultants working alongside each other, using the statement of work. So a lot of the times customers, when consultants are there, they have other ideas and they say, you know, can we do this? Can we add this? And because we are under a strict statement of work contract, we have to get a scope change, a change request to go through. So we have a very specific kind of type of work, and what we need to get done is extremely specific because it's contractually you know, written out for us. So there's less opportunities to kind of stray off the beaten path, because a lot of times customers want you know, they want the world, and we want to help them have that. But of course, we also have this statement of work that we need to kind of stick to and make sure that we get that work done first, and make sure that, you know, everything is stable before we can provide upgrades or enhancements. And then the PFE can definitely come in and kind of optimize what we as consultants have built and what we've created, and work with the customer to make everything kind of even better than when the consultants left. And then, of course, obviously we as consultants do proof of concepts, and we work a lot with the design and implementation of whatever the customer needs. So as if you're an architect, you would be a consultant, and the architect would come in and you know, design the solution, work with the consultants, and then the consultants would actually go and deliver that solution. And then, of course, as you can see, and as you've probably heard, Dana and I, consultants and PFEs, have a lot of overlapping duties and skills and things that we need to do. So obviously, technical leadership is incredibly important. The customers look to the consultants and the PFEs and the architects for guidance and their expertise and their knowledge. So we're in a really great place where we can lead the customer towards the future, towards going to the cloud, towards all the really great technologies that continue to come out. And then, of course, customer focus. I'm sure if you've counted the number of times we said customer in this, it's probably hundreds. So we strictly are, while we do work for Microsoft, we answer to the customer first. So it's an interesting place to be in, but it's great because you can really form those bonds with your customer, and you can work really closely with a different team. And so you get the opportunities to kind of work with multiple people and have experiences at different types of companies as well. And then I think
that's it. Okay. So I wonder if we in this last slide here we had Megan. I don't know if she's available to speak right now.
Megan. Someone on the call? Oh, Megan.
Yeah.
I do see a Megan.
Okay. Are you able to let her speak?
Okay.
Great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Megan. Thank you for
Excellent.
Okay. Megan is our manager, so I'm going to let her talk a little bit about this slide and tell you about what she does. And
Fantastic. So first, thank you, Mariah and Dana, for presenting on a day in the life of PFE and consulting, both accurate representations, and hopefully there's a lot of conversation following and questions. Just briefly speaking to this slide, we are always hiring. And so if you think that Premier Field Engineering or Microsoft Consulting are roles that you would be interested in, by all means, reach out to the emails and the website that's posted there. You can always ping myself, Mariah, Dana directly as well, but we are actively recruiting both within Data Insights, but a number of other roles at Microsoft.
Great. Thank you very much, Megan. And just to close out here, our final slide is for questions. Any questions that we can help answer, anything that, that you might want more information about?
I see one question right now. So I am a SQL Server DBA. What skills do I need to be a PFE at Microsoft?
Okay. That's a great question. There's probably a really broad range of skills that that are needed. Anywhere from having a really deep technical skill set to even a broad range skill set in technology could help the PFE. Or help the organization, help customers really in what they're doing. I think one of the most important parts of this role in the difference of this between like a support engineer that would take further escalations and works closely with the product group, or your escalation engineers is the customer facing, being able to manage escalations and manage your time, and I think relationship building is probably a really critical part of this role. So.
Okay, so a lot of soft skills as well as technical skills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Great way of saying that. Yeah.
Great. I have a question. He says thank you. I have a question. So say, for example, you live in an area where there is not a Microsoft facility nearby. Are there opportunities for people like that?
Well, absolutely. It would depend really on the specific role. Not everybody that works for Microsoft actually lives near an office, or maybe they live near a remote office that's not, that just has a few people in it. But Microsoft can, has abilities for you to be able to work remotely. And, there's of course, travel, if hopefully being by an airport. There's always a preference of being in a larger city, one of the hubs where you can network and be around other people, but there is still a need sometimes for some customers are in locations where, you wouldn't ever think as well. So I think the possibility is there. I think there's always opportunity for relocation that might be available as well within different positions that open up. And then finally, there's usually a option for remote, type of work. So telecommute.
Cool, thanks. I have another question. Are there minimal education requirements for Microsoft positions?
Not that I'm aware of. I know it might be specifically based on the requirements that are listed on the position, but I think in a lot of times those are overlooked for experience.
Okay.
There can be an equivalency in experience versus education. Go, Anne, please elaborate again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to kind of comment on that, Dana, you're absolutely right. But we also screen in. So a large part of our hiring process is to screen in top talent, positive attitudes, and really high achievers. So if you're not sure about your skill set and how it would match, by all means, start the process, and the feedback will be given. And even if it's not right now, it couldn't mean that it wouldn't be in the future.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Megan, and that even relates to myself. I have a really broad range of skills in SQL Server. My history, I started out in hardware, and I've kind of worked through the full spectrum, and now working on the analytics platform system. Once again, I work everywhere from the hardware all the way up, from operating system and SCOM, Windows Server updates, clustering, the full range. So there's just an opportunity for growth. I didn't come in here as the guru, deep technical, know-it-all, the smartest person in the world that has like the picture-perfect memory. Or no, I still look things up. I still have to study, and I try every day. I work hard and I do my best, and I try and have a great attitude, and I love to work with other people, and my goals align with the company. I want to empower others. I want to empower people, and I hope to do that, little by little, as my one single person every day, with the company, and helping deliver that message. And all I see around me are people, that have the same similar messaging, that they just want to bring good things to the world and help people. And that's what it's all about. I think it's more of a culture, and if you feel like you are part of that kind of a culture, then this could be the right kind of place for you.
Okay. I have another question. This might be too sensitive, but can you speak to a ballpark range on salary?
I don't know, Megan, is that something that you have information on? I know that there's a pretty wide range from what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, the salary is negotiated based on, your region and location, as well as years of expertise. So since we are willing to screen in top talent and look for the right individuals that are worth, that we'd like to invest in, we have a negotiable we have room to negotiate on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to go back to the question about having the degree, I personally do not have one. I am, born and raised in the gutter kind of geek myself, and I'm self-taught and as well as taught through others, and I worked my way up really hard to get here, and I think that's really what it takes, is a passion and a drive to keep learning, to keep trying. And the salary, as far as I'm concerned, I feel like it's very comparable to the industry. I do not, that women and men, and we're all, paid equally for what we deliver, for what our experience range is, for what our level, and, years of experience, things like that.
Yeah, one
Yeah.
One other point to mention is that the benefit package that comes with the base salary is definitely comparable to other industries, and from my own personal experience exceeds most other companies. It's really an environment where you can make it as much as you want it to be.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you.
We have time for one more question. We're really out of time, actually, but we'll go ahead with this one. How important are certifications?
Well, that's a good question. Certifications are typically a requirement internally that we maintain. There's, this ongoing, questioning between engineers and the general, just our general public, I guess, that, certification doesn't necessarily mean skill set, or that you have the insight. So certifications are great to have, and we like to have them, and the company encourages that, but certification does not always mean anything. We look for, really the understanding of the customer's environment. It's more about understanding what's going to happen, and how you can get in and fix something. It's, how do you find the answer to the problem that you're having versus I'm having a problem and I have to know how to fix it this very moment off the top of my head. It's more about the problem-solving skills than it is having the certification, in my opinion.
Okay, well, that's all the time we have for today, and thank you both so much for speaking for us today, and hopefully maybe a handful of people on the call will be interested and actually send an email to the email address that you provided, and who knows what can happen.
Okay.
So.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.
Bye-bye.